Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're really getting into a question that, well, it kind of dances in the back of all our minds, doesn't it? Luck. And this exploration, it's especially for you, actually. It's drawn from some really interesting material you shared with us, a YouTube transcript that goes pretty deep into the nature and origins of good fortune.
Yeah.
So our mission here isn't just to summarize. We really want to distill the core insights, those moments that make you go, aha, and help us understand why we're so drawn to this idea of luck and, crucially, where this source material suggests it actually comes from.
And what jumps out right away, I think, from the material you sent is how it focuses on the Ramthan ging tradition.
Right, the first full moon of the Lunar New Year.
Exactly. It really highlights this almost universal human impulse, looking for spiritual significance at certain times, especially, when we turn the page to a new year, hoping for blessings.
It's like everyone takes a big collective breath and just wishes for good things. And the transcript even takes us back to the history of this day. It mentions the min flute ceremony in feudal times, officials pledging loyalty.
Yeah, it's quite a journey, isn't it? From like a political act to the temple visits that people do today.
So what's the key takeaway there about how that changed over time?
Well, I think what's really telling is the enduring human need, for ritual and for a sense of connection to something bigger than us, especially when we're facing the future and all its uncertainties. So even when that original political meaning faded, the tradition of visiting temples kept going, maybe fueled by that deep-seated belief in the day's spiritual power.
Okay.
And then we see things like Kung Sao Jaihan pop up, these star-lining rituals, which, interestingly, the source notes aren't actually rooted in Buddhist practices.
Oh, really? Where from, then?
Astrology, apparently. It just speaks to this broader human desire, I think, to try and influence what's coming. Even looking up at the stars for some answers.
Right, like trying to feel a bit more in control, maybe,
Right.
by aligning with cosmic forces or something.
Yeah, exactly. And the Buddhist community's response that's mentioned, creating the Luk and Dolam, the New Year peace praying ceremony, and similar traditions. Well, that feels like a fascinating re-anchoring, doesn't it?
Re-anchoring those hopes.
Yeah, within a different spiritual context. It's sort of like saying, okay, yes, we all want a good year, but here's a framework that actually lines up with our core beliefs.
Makes sense.
So if you step back a bit, what becomes really clear is this fundamental human yearning for a positive future, whether it's expressed through oaths or astrology or religious ceremonies. The underlying drive is pretty much the same.
Hope for well-being.
Right. And that tradition of wishing ourselves and others well as we move into the new year.
And that yearning, the source material seems to suggest, it comes from a really core human experience. Just that feeling of uncertainty about what's next. The speaker in the transcript observes that we, as humans, often lack, well, complete self-confidence about the future. Doesn't matter what our situation is right now.
And this brings up a really crucial point about just being human,
Yeah.
Why don't we have absolute certainty?
Yeah, why?
The transcript offers a pretty powerful explanation. Even people who seem the most secure, the wealthy, the powerful, they're still vulnerable to things just happening. Unexpected events.
Like accidents or crises you just didn't see coming.
Exactly. Life is just inherently unpredictable. And it's this unpredictability, this sense that things can happen totally outside our control that fuels our desire to seek some kind of supernatural help.
Something to maybe nudge fate a bit.
Yeah.
In a better direction.
Precisely. Trying to gain a bit of an edge against the unknown. And this leads us straight to the central question in the material. Where does luck actually come from?
Okay, but before jumping into the answers, the transcript gives us a really clear definition of what we even mean by luck, because it can be a slippery concept.
Yeah, and what's particularly insightful about this definition, I think, is how it emphasizes outcomes that go beyond our own abilities, beyond our predictions, beyond our plans.
So it's not just any good result.
No. It's that element of the unexpected, that sense of something happening outside the realm of what we could have directly caused or foreseen. That seems to be absolutely key to what we think of as luck.
The examples they give really make it click, I thought. Like the student who barely studied but somehow aced the exam.
It's luck.
But the student who studied really hard and got the grade they expected.
Not luck. That's just, the reward for effort.
Right. Or the businessman who unexpectedly lands a huge government contract, no connections, no prior arrangements.
That's luck playing a role.
Yeah.
But like the transcript says, if the whole thing was rigged or set up beforehand, well, then the element of chance just vanishes.
Got it.
And that really vivid image they use, someone escaping a serious car crash, only because a tree just happened to be there in the right spot to stop their fall into a ravine.
Pure luck.
Pure luck. Contrast that with, say, a highly skilled driver who avoids the same accident entirely because of their expertise. The difference is that unforeseen external intervention.
Okay, those examples really help nail down that feeling of something good happening that's just outside our direct control. So we have a working definition. Now, the transcript starts digging into the different ways people actually try to invite luck into their lives. Let's start with a really traditional one, praying to deities, to gods, Buddhas.
Right. That belief that higher powers can influence what happens down here on Earth, it's ancient, it's widespread. The transcript even points to the historical idea of a divine mandate for rulers.
Okay.
And the reasoning given for praying to Buddha, even for blessings that might seem, a bit outside the usual scope of Buddhist teachings, it's quite interesting.
How so?
It's presented as this idea that Buddha, being the teacher of the gods, or the transcript calls Chutin, often understood as heavenly beings or deities, well, he commands their respect. So the thinking is, those who show reverence to the Buddha might indirectly benefit from that respect the deities have for him.
Huh. Like seeking favor through association with someone really highly regarded. But the transcript also adds a critical perspective here, doesn't it? Suggesting these Chutian might actually assess someone's merits first.
Exactly. Before granting wishes.
Yeah.
It implies a sort of cosmic accountability system, maybe.
Yeah.
It moves beyond just a simple ask and you shall receive view of prayer. There's this implication that it's not just about asking. There's an element of, deserving it, or having cultivated some positive qualities that might influence the response.
But there's a distinction with praying directly to Buddha.
Well, the transcript does draw a distinction there, suggesting that the Chutian might be moved by the respect for the teacher, potentially leading to a more favorable outcome for the person praying. It's a subtle point.
That's a fascinating nuance, this idea of indirect influence through reverence. Now, the transcript also touches on something else, seeking help from spirits of the deceased, these Owen Hun. Yeah. It mentions this belief in folklore, like asking spirits of accident victims for lottery numbers or things like that.
Right. And what's striking here is the critique the transcript offers. While it acknowledges this belief exists, it basically says it's often just rooted in rumor.
Lacking real spiritual basis.
Yeah, lacking genuine spiritual merit. It kind of highlights a human tendency, maybe, to look for quick fixes, even spiritually, instead of engaging with more established, ethically grounded practices.
Like chasing shadows, hoping for a shortcut. And then there's the practice of worshiping figures who might be imagined deities. Or misunderstood historical figures like Qutian Huinan or Quanthan Quen Yu.
If you look at the message underneath that, the critique seems to be about a lack of understanding, about who truly embodies the qualities that lead to positive influence and good fortune.
So not just any figure.
No. The transcript really emphasizes people who have demonstrably saved lives, or practiced profound generosity, or taught ethical principles. Those are the ones whose positive impact really resonates, not necessarily figures whose historical or mythological roles might be, open to interpretation.
So it's suggesting we should align ourselves with genuine virtue and compassion.
That seems to be the core idea, recognizing and honoring true benevolence.
Okay. Now, the transcript moves on to some practices it sees as particularly problematic, starting with stuffing small money, low-denomination bills into Buddha statues and temples.
Yeah, the perspective here is pretty direct. It calls the practice disrespectful.
And suggests it might even bring bad luck.
Right, more likely to bring negative consequences than good luck. The reasoning seems straightforward. Offering something of minimal value to a revered figure or a sacred place, it can be seen as disrespectful. A lack of genuine reverence.
Like a trivial gesture without real thought or sincerity behind it.
Exactly. The transcript even calls for ending this practice, particularly in the North, and suggests a more meaningful alternative.
Which is?
Donating usable money directly to the temple leaders. For temple upkeep, for charitable work.
That feels much more practical. And respectful, too. A tangible contribution that actually supports the temple's positive work in the community.
Absolutely. It shifts the focus from something potentially superstitious to something concrete and helpful.
Okay, what's next? The transcript also addresses some common superstitious practices, like displaying certain calligraphy. Nifu Klamon, the 5 blessings wish.
Yes, or keeping a lucky money plant, that kafatai.
Right, those everyday things lots of people do, hoping to attract positive energy or prosperity. How does the transcript view those?
Well, the assessment is pretty grounded. It basically says that while these practices are common, their actual power to bring luck is questionable, according to the source. The example of the lucky money plant, where the prices get inflated just based on this perceived lucky quality. That highlights how these beliefs can sometimes be, commercially exploited.
Paying a premium for an idea, basically.
Yeah, it's the power of suggestion driving the market. And then there's Feng Shui.
The ancient practice of arranging your environment.
Right. The transcript acknowledges Feng Shui can have some influence, but it's careful to point out it's not the ultimate decider of luck.
Okay, so if all these external practices, praying in certain ways, avoiding certain actions, arranging your house if they have limited or maybe even negative effects, where does genuine good fortune actually come from?
This is where the discussion of the transcript really takes a significant turn, maybe a surprising one for some people.
Yeah.
According to this source, the real source, the wellspring of luck, is rooted in our past good deeds, what's referred to as Fu.
Fuk. So like karma.
It aligns very closely with the principle of karma, yes. The idea that our actions, especially how we treat others, create consequences, both the ones we see and the ones we don't.
And the transcript gives examples.
Concrete examples, like offering unexpected help to someone can lead to unexpected good fortune coming back to you. It's that idea of sowing seeds of kindness and then reaping a harvest of positive outcomes, sometimes in ways you totally didn't foresee.
The ripple effect of compassion. The transcript also mentions giving more than you promised, or
Right.
helping people who are really in despair.
Yes, those are highlighted as powerful ways to generate this positive fook. And there's a really important distinction made, too, between helping when someone asks you versus helping without even being asked.
Well, that's interesting. What's the difference?
Well, responding when asked is definitely good, no question. But the transcript suggests that proactively seeing a need and offering help without being prompted, that shows a deeper level of empathy and kindness.
A higher level of selfless action.
Exactly. And according to the source, that higher level can lead to even greater, more unexpected blessings. But there's a crucial caveat, too.
Which is?
Making sure the request for help, if there is one, is actually ethical. You don't want to help someone do something wrong.
That's a vital filter, yeah. And the transcript also mentions the flip side, right? The potential consequences of refusing legitimate help when you could have given it.
Precisely. It seems inaction, when kindness is possible and warranted, can also have its own repercussions.
Okay.
But what's encouraging is that even if you feel like you don't have this long history of amazing good deeds behind you, the transcript offers another path.
Another way to experience positive fortune.
Yes, by cultivating what it calls an upward-moving mind and really sticking to strong ethical principles right now in the present.
Ah, so it's not just about the past. Our current intentions, our moral compass right now that matters deeply.
Absolutely. This includes things like fostering a noble mindset, showing respect for Buddhist teachings, cultivating love for all beings, actively trying to live morally.
And there's an example.
Yeah, someone who's struggling but still maintains good intentions and then receives unexpected help. It illustrates this principle that a sincere commitment to goodness now can attract positive influences, maybe even what feels like divine assistance. That emphasis on quietly noticing what others need and offering help without being asked, it's presented as a kind of fundamental guiding principle for a life that tends towards good fortune, regardless of your past actions.
Creating positive momentum right here, right now.
That's the idea, living proactively with kindness.
Okay, so the transcript then broadens the discussion a bit, considering different forms of what we might see as luck in life.
Right, and these range quite widely from the circumstances you're born into, like being born into a wealthy family, which the source attributes to past fuk.
Okay.
Or maybe even more ideally, being born into a family that really values morality and spiritual development. That gives you a strong foundation.
That idea of inheriting a supportive, ethical environment, yeah, that definitely feels like a significant kind of good fortune. What else?
The luck of encountering a genuine spiritual teacher. What the text calls a chanfap minsu.
A genuine teacher as opposed to someone misleading.
Exactly. That's presented as particularly significant luck because it guides you onto an authentic path of growth and understanding. Then there's the ability to achieve stable states in meditation.
Which the transcript notes can lead to positive spiritual realms.
Yes, provided there's no backsliding or regression. It really underscores the power of inner spiritual work. And another form of luck they discuss is simply being free from superstitions and misguided beliefs.
How is that luck?
Well, being free from delusion allows for clearer thinking, right? More rational decisions, actions grounded in reality, not in fear or, unfounded hope.
Okay, that makes sense.
And then the transcript presents this really profound idea, maybe even counterintuitive. The highest form of luck, it says, is actually moving beyond the need for luck entirely.
Whoa, okay, unpack that a little.
It's this concept of not relying on chance anymore. Instead, you actively generate positive merit through your own dedicated effort, and you selflessly dedicate those merits to helping others. And ultimately, you strive for enlightenment.
So it's a complete shift in perspective. From hoping for luck to actively creating the causes for well-being.
Exactly. It reframes the whole pursuit. It's not about passively hoping for external blessings anymore. It becomes an active, intentional creation of positive causes within yourself and in how you interact with the world.
That's a powerful idea.
And finally, the transcript concludes with what the speaker offers as blessings for the listeners.
Right, and these cover a whole range of human desires, don't they? Good health, safety from illness and accidents.
Economic stability, prosperity, opportunities to do meaningful good deeds. They even give a specific example, willingly donating land for public infrastructure, like roads or schools.
Wow, that's quite specific.
Yeah. Also, blessings for having good friends and spiritual companions, for healing within families, and for success in legitimate, ethical endeavors. It paints this really holistic picture of a life lived well, which, in that sense, is lucky.
A fortunate life, in the deepest sense.
And the final encouragement to continue practicing at the temple just reinforces that idea that these blessings are connected to ongoing spiritual engagement and community.
Okay. So as we wrap up this deep dive, the central message coming through from this material seems pretty clear. While we often look outside ourselves to rituals, to chants for good fortune, the most reliable foundation for genuine well-being, for positive outcomes, actually lies in how we live. Living ethically, extending selfless help to others.
It really comes down to the kind of person you actively choose to be, doesn't it? And the positive impact you try to make.
Yeah, it's about creating your own luck, in a way, through virtue.
Which leaves us with a final thought for you, our listener. Thinking about everything we've explored here, what resonates most with you?
Is it that idea that our past actions, our fook, shape our present?
Or maybe it's that empowering idea that our present intentions, our current acts of selfless kindness, really hold the key to future good fortune.
It's definitely worth taking a moment to reflect, isn't it? How might these perspectives inform your own path towards a life that feels meaningful and, maybe in the truest sense of the word, fortunate?